Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of the HubTalk Chronicles right here on YouTube. Now, I know, it's been a while since we've done episodes like this, but if you know, you know. Been through a lot since over a year or so, but you know what? Today we are back on the grind, so without further ado, let's get right into the episode. So first of all, guys, we have a few things we want to talk about real quick. One being about the Queens Bus Redesign Network, in which case phase one will take place 2 weeks from now. We also need to talk about the bus lane implementations along Flatbush Avenue. And also, last but not least, the interlining. Oh yes, the MTA is looking at ways for the interlining for the F&M trains along 53rd Street and 63rd Street to Queens Boulevard collectively, as well as the Rogers Junction involving the IRT lines 2, 3, 4, and 5 trains. So first of all, I want to talk real quick about the Queens Bus Network Redesign. Okay, first off, I want to talk to you guys about the Queens Bus Network Redesign. Now, I know that it's been a long while since we have talked about it on this channel, but you already know I have to deal with a loss of a dear friend of mine's. I have to deal with the timely passing of my brother. His passing anniversary was this past week, by the way. I had to deal with multiple failed hard drives, and I couldn't find a suitable video editing software. But you know what? God is good. We are here. Good times, good blessings and all, and we're just gonna keep moving forward, keep pushing on forward. Now, anyways, last time we were left off when we were talking about the Queens Bus redesign right here on this channel, right? We were discussing the 2022 new draft plan, and that was over 3 years ago, back in June of 2022. Because you remember, in March 29th of that year, the MTA has released their new draft plan. Because remember, we were coming back from the COVID-19 pandemic, right? And the MTA has decided to restart the redesign networks for each borough, starting with the Bronx. As you can see, the Bronx was already implemented back in June of 2022, and in March of 2022, the MTA came out with a new draft plan for Queens after the original draft plan was withdrawn due to massive negative feedback from Queens strap hangers. Okay. So what consisted of that new draft plan, and we're going to talk about the steps that ultimately led into the proposed final plan, into the final addendum plan, and also the implementation that we're going to have 2 weeks from now. Okay, so if you guys recall, we had the new draft plan, which consists of more than a handful of new routes, and there were a couple of routes that were crazy, that were hella crazy. Like there were like 2 routes combined into one, like the unification of the Q1 and the Q6 route, which you guys don't know, which was supposed to operate between Belrose and the JFK cargo area and streamlined, with the Q1 taking over Sutton Boulevard, with the Q6 being discontinued. Next, we had, if I recall, back on the top of my mind, another route that came into mind was this Q57 route, which was supposed to operate between Floral Park and Onzo Park, with both the Q50 with the Q110 and the Q112 being discontinued and being absorbed and unified into this one one Omega route with no terminal layouts in Jamaica, Queens. It's supposed to operate between Onslow Park, Rockaway Boulevard Station, and and Foro Park, with the Q36 also being discontinued as well. And it was supposed to be this one huge route was supposed to go through Jamaica LIRR. That one was also been scrapped as well. Next we've had the Q50 and the Q51. The Q50 was supposed to be a crosstown select bus service route, which was supposed to operate between the Bronx and LaGuardia Airport. The reason why I mentioned the Bronx, because if you go back to the Bus Network Redesign plan, you would see that you would see that the Q50 was supposed to be slated to be the SBS route, and from the Bronx Redesign Network, off-peak service between Pelham Bay Park and Co-op City was continued. All buses during off-peak hours were supposed to turncate at Pelham Bay Park, with rush hour trips extended to and from Co-op City. And now the Q51, on the other hand, I would say the Q51 route is a restoration of the Q9A, Q89 route. If you know, you know. The original Q9A, Q89 route operated weekdays only between the hours of, I would say, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Only operated one trip per hour. Only operating between South Onslow Park, Rockaway Boulevard, and the Jamaica 165th Street bus terminal, with no connections to the subways and Long Island Railroad. Now, the MTA took that very same route and took the original concept of the plan for that route, which was supposed to be a Linden Boulevard crosstown route that was supposed to operate between Onslow Park and Cambria Heights. They took that concept and drew it into a route that will be implemented 2 weeks from now. Okay. So the Q51 was supposed to operate between Cambria Heights 235 and East New York Gateway Mall, but it was half scrapped. It was instead downgraded to a limited. Same thing with the Q50. And sorry, my throat's a little bit scratchy right now. And the Q51, instead of operating to Brooklyn, has been turn-coded to operate between Onslow Park and Cambria Heights. Now the Cambria Heights terminus, I don't mind, because from the new draft plan to the proposed final plan, the Q51 was slated to operate, was supposed to operate between Cambria Heights 235, but has been pushed back, but has been scaled back to Francis Lewis and Linden Boulevard, which is fine. But the Western terminus I have an issue with, because ain't no way you're gonna have a Q51 terminate in Brooklyn. You're crazy. But so then the TA has decided to look further into that evaluation in Brooklyn's redesign plan. Oh, and by the way, guys, the only reason why I will not show the proposed routes and the routes from the addendum plan and everything, because while I was taking care of myself and everything else, I missed a good chunk of everything that happened so far. And pretty much everybody knows the plan already and what the routes are going to be like and things of that nature. So that's a complete epic bust. And so that was the Q51. The Q50, I don't know why they're poised to have that route operate to LaGuardia Airport, absorb the Q48, the existing Q48 that we have now, which will be discontinued. But I wouldn't say discontinued, but bear with me. Absorb the existing Q48 route and have it operate to LaGuardia Airport via the local streets that the Q48 travels on. But that's been ultimately been scrapped, and that was transitioned from the new draft plan to proposed final plan, which has been downgraded to limited. And then when the final addendum plan came around, now bear with me, the Q50 route will remain as it is now, but as a limited route. And instead of having it operate to LaGuardia Airport, the route is now going to the route between Flushing and LaGuardia Airport will now be served by a new route called the Q90 Limited. The Q90 Limited will be dispatched from the Casey Stengel Depot, which will take over Flushing and LaGuardia Airport operations for the Q48 route. Okay, as y'all know, that route will travel between Flushing and LaGuardia Airport via Roosevelt Avenue, via Tom Seaver Way, right by City Field, and then on the Grand Central Parkway to and from LaGuardia Airport. Yes. While the Q48, on the other hand, will be part of the Union Turnpike branch, which will operate weekdays only, which will take over the weekday only Q46 Glen Oaks only route between Glen Oaks and Union Turnpike. Between Glen Oaks and Union Turnpike Queens Boulevard. Yes. And about that Union Turnpike route, another route that comes to mind is the Q23, because the Q23 was supposed to be a limited route, which is supposed to operate somewhere between Corona, I believe, and Fresh Meadows. It's supposed to operate as a limited route between Fresh Meadows and Corona via Union Turnpike via 108th Street, and that was taken away from consideration, and instead they decided to keep the Q103, the Q23 as it is, but as a local route, and decided to create a whole new route called the Q45, which will operate between Union Turnpike, Queens Boulevard, and Fresh Meadows. Later on in the final addendum plan, it was changed into a local route. And the next one that comes to mind is the Q10. This whole unified Q10 route that's supposed to operate between Union Turnpike. All right. As I was saying, right? Yes, and then some other route called the Q73 was supposed to take over the southern section of the Q23 and operate between Forest Hills and Union Turnpike and operate along via 73rd Avenue to and from Queensboro Community College. Now, that route was axed, and then fast forward into the final addendum plan, the Q73 was brought back into consideration, but has been resculptured into the Q74 route, which will operate between Forest Hills 71st Avenue Station and Queensboro Community College, which will also serve Queens College students as well along Forest Hardin Expressway. Okay. Now, so back to the Q10 now, right? If you remember, this Q10 supposed to be some unified route. It's supposed to operate between JFK Airport and Leicester, absorbing the Q64 route. But that route was quickly scrapped because of the major oppositions from Q10 and Q64 riders alike, and especially the fact that traffic on Queens Boulevard can get very messy and super hectic, especially during rush hours. So the MTA decided to keep the Q10 and Q64 routes as they are. Same thing with the Q1 and Q6, Q110 and Q112, and all the other routes as well. Now the other routes that I can truly mention before I wrap this thing up, right? Because we have other topics to get to now. We can talk about yes, we can talk about how some other routes. I'm sorry, were very popular, but the TA has decided not to push it any further. Like the Q44 route to Ford and Plaza, that was taken out of consideration due to the massive amount of traffic on the Whitestone Bridge on a daily basis. Another route that comes into mind is the Q43 that was supposed to go to Long Island Jewish Hospital. The TA is looking into that, but for further evaluation, the Q51 to Gateway Mall, that's also being considered too as well. And one more route that comes into mind, and it's supposed to be this Q78 route, which was supposed to operate between Springfield Gardens and Bay Terrace. It's supposed to be the north to south connector for Northeast and Southeast Queens residents. That is also being considered. That is also being looked into consideration too as well. I like that route, but the TA really needs to evaluate and see how that route can see fit most. Oh, and one more route that comes to mind was the Q25 route, which was supposed to operate along Casino Boulevard, Parsons Boulevard, and Merrick Boulevard. I know that nobody wants to come in my throat and say this, but I honestly liked the Q25 route. Yeah, you got a one seat ride to Flushing, to and from Flushing, without having to make a transfer in Jamaica. But but a lot of strap hangers fell in heavy opposition to the route, so they decided to keep the Q25 as it is. Later became as a limited route between College Point and Jamaica, which later changed into a local route. And as you all know, the Q34 will be discontinued. It will be replaced by the Q25 local, and the Q61 limited collectively. The Q62 and the Q105 has been withdrawn from considerations. The B57 and the B62 has been changed into limited routes, and routings in Brooklyn has remained put as it is until further evaluation can be conducted in Brooklyn's redesign plan. And last but not least, the B53 is in limbo since the Q24 will continue to have its routing between Jamaica and Bed-Stuy, but instead of terminating at Archer Avenue and 168th Street, it will be terminating near Parsons Boulevard and 89th Avenue, right by the Parsons Boulevard Hillside Avenue F train station. Yes, the F train station. Whew. So yeah, that's it for the Queens Bus Redesign Network review. Once again, I will next in the following week or so, following this podcast, we will be putting out a compilation video of all of the buses of the existing Queens Bus Network before the implementation happens the following week. So stay tuned for that one. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and we're back. And right now, we are going to talk about the bus lanes along Flatbush Avenue. For those who don't know, since for a couple of years now, the New York City Department of Transportation are looking at ways to improve speed and reliability of bus service, especially along Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn. The DOT has finally made an immediate release this past Monday, which states that New York City Department of Transportation proposes Flatbush Avenue bus lanes to speed up commutes for thousands of New Yorkers, which will help a lot of primarily low-income commuters of color. All right, and also aim to reduce the most dangerous corridors and improve air traffic quality throughout reduced traffic. Okay. 69,000 daily commuters are going to love this. Okay, so long story short, the plan will be centered bus lanes, which will stretch between Livingston Street and Grand Army Plaza, with new pedestrian spaces to improve traffic safety and reduce pedestrian crossing times. This will also adjust the curb regulations to better support local businesses and delivery needs. Okay, I believe center running bus lanes will be beneficial because the amount of traffic and traction that Flatbush Avenue gets, and it also be an improvement in reliability of all the buses that run along the corridor, especially the B41 bus route. What do you guys think about the centered bus lanes along Flatbush Avenue? Will it help improve the quality of service for the B41, or will it just be something that's in the way? Okay, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. On the next HubTalk episode, we will be covering subway de-interlining involving the F and M lines, and as well as involving the 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines as soon as more information becomes available. But until then, if you like what you guys see, don't forget to subscribe to the Transportation Hub YouTube channel, as well as follow the Hub wherever you have social media, ranging from Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. Well, we're working on issues involving Blue Sky right now. And like and follow the Hub on the Facebook page, the Hub's Facebook page. And also coming soon will be flashes. So once again, you guys, thank you for watching us. Love you all dearly. Don't forget to rate, comment, share, and subscribe. And I